Hi and welcome back. This is part 3 of Nigel Walton's floating reamer holder design, and in this episode we're going to have a look at the collar or the nut. I've got a piece of 4140 which I'll be making mine out of. The plans do call for aluminium bronze or hard brass, but I haven't got that. I have got some, but I don't really want to use that. That's for other projects. So anyway, we'll get this chucked up and then we'll face it off, and then the first operation will be to drill straight through the centre and open that hole out to 33.3 millimeters. So we should now be there. We'll just have a measure. So we are 33.33 at the front. And 33.34 at the back, so that's fine. So we'll just derag this edge, and then the next stage is to open the bore out to 40 mil. So if we go back to the drawing, the next stage is to open this bore out here to 40 mil, and that will accept the 40 mil of our shaft, or of this part of the shaft. So anyway, we'll get on with machining that, and then we've got to put this recess in here, or the landing for the thread to go through to, and then we can cut the threads. That's close. So to enable us to cut this relief in here, I've got a homemade bore and bar which I've used on various projects, and I've just shaped up a piece of high-speed steel just to take that cut. That's the 40 mil dimension there, and we're down to 45.5 mil here, so about 2.75. So yeah, like I say, I've just shaped, if we can get it in focus. Yeah, so I've just shaped that piece of high-speed steel just to give us that cut. So we'll come in and we'll do one cut, then we'll move it across until we get to 4 mil wide, which is what the plans are asking us to do. So anyway, we'll take it nice and easy. It's a small piece of high-speed steel, and 4140 is a bit harder, so we don't want to just snap that tip off. So we'll just take it nice and easy. So anyway, we'll get that set up in the lathe, we'll measure in, and then we'll cut that. So the relief has got to be cut 8 mil in. So if we just bring the cutter down to the edge of the work. So we're sitting at the edge now, so we'll just zero the indicator and we'll come in 8 mil and then we want a further 1.8. The actual tip is 1.8 wide, so 9.8 in total. Which is there, and then we're ready to start to do our cut. And we'll just set up the gauge as well. Now we've touched off, because we just want to come in 2.7 mil. Right, so the next job is to now open this diameter out here, suitable for M45 thread. So we just got to open that out to our diameter, and then we'll cut those threads. So we're all set up for threading, internal threading. So we've got an internal insert here, 60 degree, and what we'll do is we'll do a scratch pass first of all, just to make sure that we've got the right pitch, and then we'll continue to cut those threads. We'll just set the dial gauge up, just so we know where we are, wind in, and then reverse. So I've cut the threads and they've come out really well, or the thread. Just try to do this one-handed. So very little play in there, which is I'm really happy with. And what I'm doing now is just working on the taper in the back there. And if I can get my finger in here as well as the camera, this taper in here. So I'm going to do that off camera because I want to concentrate. I've got a lamp or a light set up so I can actually see in there while I'm machining. But yeah, I just want to concentrate on that, so I don't think I'm going to film that one. But anyway, we'll come back when that's finished, and then I'll show you what obviously the next stage. So that's the taper finished. Not as good a finish as what I would like. But it is what it is, so it's not too bad. But I'm going to lap it in with the other piece anyway. So that's going to be lapped against this taper here. So that will clean that up anyway. But yeah, other than that, no, it's turned out really well. Threads are lovely. What I've set up for now is we've got to put a relief just on the front here. which is a mil radius smaller than the 50mm, so it ends up being 48mm diameter. So I've just got this set up. It doesn't have to be exact, but just you know, a rough sort of thing. So I'm just going to just plunge in here until I reach a millimetre, and then I'll know that that's the 24mm, which is this distance here. So anyway, let's get on with that. So next is to machine a grip pattern in. So I'm going to put some lines on here, and then we'll go over to the shaper and we'll cut the lines the other way, and that will give us something to grip when we want to undo the nut, you know, off the taper. Right, so we've got the nut all set up in the shaper now, and I've ground a 60-degree tool here to cut our grooves running the other way, and we're going to be cutting at 10-degree intervals. So with that 10 degrees, that will then give us the distance the same running this way as what these grooves are running on, you know, what we cut on the lathe. So they'll look sort of within sort of proportion to each other. So I've got all the shapers set up. We're going to cut nice and slow because this is 4140 and it's a bit of a harder material. If we cut too quick, it's just going to wreck the tip off on this tool here. So we'll cut nice and slow, we'll use some cutting oil, and then that tip should last all our cuts, because we've got 36 cuts to do around the diameter. So anyway, I'll bring the camera in closer and then we'll start cutting those cuts. Well, that's the whole complete parts all made. So the nut came out really well. I'm really happy with how that came out. Got a nice pattern on here to grip to undo it. If not, we can use a pin wrench to undo it if it does go too tight. But yeah, the taper came out nice. I've done a little bit of polishing on that. The threads cut well. See if I can get a decent shot of the threads. Yeah, no, I'm happy. So and the threads are nice and tight as well. So let me just get this on. Yeah, there's a tiny little bit in there, so that was good. So anyway, we'll put it together and then we'll go across to the lathe and we'll give it a go and see how accurate it is. So this is how it was going to float, and we'll put the nut on, and that's the unit complete. So when it's tight, if we tighten this right up, we can use it for drilling. Obviously the chuck is going to be on the end here, and then we can slacken it off slightly, and then we've got a float on the end here. So we'll put the chuck on and then we'll go across to the lathe. So on the plans, it called for a Morse taper, whether you had a Morse taper 2, Morse taper 3, but I wanted to be able to use this across the lathe and the milling machine and the drill press. So I've just done a square taper which is going to fit into an ER32 collet. So we've got a 20mm collet in here, and if we just tighten that up, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out to an 8mm hole. So we'll go slightly under 8mm obviously, and then we'll ream the hole out to 8. This is a piece of shaft out of a CNC machine, so it's dimensionally accurate. It's spot on 8mm. So it'll be interesting to see you know, how this is going to work, and you know, to what effect it gives us you know, an accurate hole. So anyway, we can use this for drilling as well. If we do the nut up, that will then centralise this straight into the middle, and then we can drill that hole into the piece of steel, and then we'll ream it out, and then we'll give this a try. Right, we'll see what sort of job we've done. Well, it's tight. Oh, that's good. We've got... Oh, I'm really happy with that. And we've got an airlock in there as well, so it shows how tight it is. No wiggle at all. Yeah, so I'm happy with the result of that. So yeah, so all happy. Happy with the result. Came out really well, and done that hole exactly to the size of an 8mm shaft. So anyway, so I'd like to say a big thanks to Nigel for the original plans and for making them available to people for a small donation. So thanks, Nigel. And I'll leave you with a few pictures, and then we'll see you in the next video.